one-liners and sentence fragments, sweetness and light, the rational being making himself ever more rational, best things said and thought by the human race, the eternal summons of beauty to a spirit that is the human spirit, something in us that inclines us to Greek. As I speak, it's 1997. It's the closing portion of the 20th century. I don't know many people that actually would identify the state of human affairs as one best characterized by seeking sweetness and light, attempting to render ourselves ever more rational, or in any way feeling particularly inclined toward Greek and things Hellenic. Ours, I think, is a rather nervous age, rather less confident than the Victorians. The Victorians were always complaining about bad health, and they have mortality, which was going to ring true at any minute. Most of them lived to be 80-something. These were the healthiest sick people I think the world had ever produced. And of course they were worrying constantly, but they weren't worrying simply about themselves. The Victorians indeed saw us coming and wondered, and I want to be understood on this so it doesn't sound utterly Tory-ish. I want to be clear on this point. Look, the reform movements of the 19th century, the whole force of an egalitarian ethics, an ethics of liberation, opposed to discrimination, opposed to rank and class and exclusions, has to be counted as one of the great achievements of human moral sensibility. But a price does get paid for this. You very often find the unleashing of forces that all of those removed institutions and social practices and the like had initially been brought about to bring under control. I mean, there is something, if I may use the expression, entirely dialectical at work here, or at least that was perceived. Well, the 19th century would host more than one luminary of thought. Luminary is an odd word to use with which to begin a brief lecture on Nietzsche. Nietzsche's world is not a world of sweetness and light. It is a world of light and dark. It is a world of opposing polarities and opposing tendencies. Is there something in us that inclines us to Greek? Which Greek? Apollo? Eros? Thanatos? Medea? Clytemnestra? Agamemnon? Alcibiades? Which Greek are we inclined to? Are we inclined to the Greeks given to us by Euripides, Sophocles, Aeschylus? Are we inclined to the Greek who is Aristotle, or who is Plato, writing down the teachings of a Socrates self-executed by a verdict against philosophy itself, against the examined life? Look too deeply and you will find things that should not be known. Is that the message in the truth? What was it that corrupted Athenian youth in the teachings of Socrates? And indeed, what was it that was insufficiently respectful of the gods of Athens? Is this self-examination merely hubristic, or is it dangerous? Do we finally start to uncover what really makes us tick? And is this not to be found in any number of the dialogues? Is this not the horse that can barely be controlled by the charioteer? How did the ancient Greek world understand Eros? Is it this wonderful life-giving force that gives us spankingly new 7-pound babies? The world is their oyster and the future is theirs. Eros is a powerfully destructive force. It's behind rape and pillage. It's behind victory and conquest. It's behind what Nietzsche will call, and indeed there is a Schopenhauerian influence here, the will to power. You see, this is what Eros is all about. I keep myself alive through victory and vanquish. I keep the species alive in that well-known way. That well-known way which, left to its own devices, is indifferent to categorical imperatives and making a rational creature ever more rational and the like. We are destroyers. And if indeed progress is won by destruction, then progress may be far less the aim than the consequence of a motive which at base may be a motive of willfulness. darkness, a side of the Greek world too often overlooked, a side of the Greek world that we don't get when we fix our gaze on Apollo, but we do get when we fix our gaze on Dionysus. It was Nietzsche who, in The Birth of Tragedy and the Spirit of Music, begins that habit people have, that important habit, literary habit, of contrasting the Apollonian and the Dionysian. These are two faces of the Greek world, and Nietzsche, who was an outstanding classicist, student of classics, translator of classical works, ancient Greek works. Nietzsche says, look, yes, there is the Apollonian, but let's get back to the ancient Greek world and understand what its sources of animation were. The Dionysiac sects, which, by the way, very often were populated chiefly by women, had as their goal a liberation from the strictures of the ancient Greek world, a liberation from the strictures of life within the polis. This isn't just a sect that goes out into the woods and plays horned instruments and runs around with pallet-shaped objects. This is a sect that will allow itself to be possessed by the gods for the purpose of a liberation and form of experience of a transcendental nature. This is the first Faust, do you see? The followers of Dionysus are the ones who have finally entered into a Faustian bargain. Indeed, there is a word in the Greek for presenting oneself in such a way that the god can enter oneself. Enthusiasmos, do you see? Enthusiasm in the original acceptation is not simply being quite excited by something.